Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unravel the history of two legendary warrior groups from the Indian subcontinent, the Gakhars and the Rajputs. Now, both are famous for their bravery, but they have completely different stories. So what's the real distinction here, and why does it even matter? Let's dive in.
You know, it's a question that trips up a lot of people, even serious history buffs. On the surface, you've got two powerful, respected warrior clans, but once you start to dig a little deeper, you find their origins, their homelands, and their big political alliances tell two totally different tales. So to really get it, we've got to go right back to the beginning.
First things first, their roots. You just can't understand the difference between Gakhars and Rajputs without looking at where they came from. And as you're about to see, their origin stories couldn't be more different, and that really set the stage for everything that came after.
Let's start with the Rajputs. I mean, their name alone tells you so much. Rajput comes straight from the Sanskrit Rajaputra, which literally means son of a king. So right off the bat, their entire identity is tied to India's ancient royal bloodlines and warrior class. It's a name that just carries this incredible weight of history and lineage.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. On one side, you have the Rajputs, whose family tree is firmly planted in the Indian subcontinent, tracing back to the almost mythical solar and lunar dynasties of ancient India. But then you look at the Gakhars, and their lineage goes all the way back to the Ionian dynasty in Persia, which is modern-day Iran. We're talking about two completely separate warrior traditions, one indigenous to India and one with roots deep in Central Asia.
Okay, so their origins are basically worlds apart. But where did they actually live? Where did they rule? Their geography, their homelands? That's the next critical piece of this puzzle, and it shaped their power and their politics for centuries.
This really shows the difference in scale perfectly, doesn't it? The Rajputs were a massive, sprawling power. We're talking hundreds of clans spread across these huge areas of North India and Pakistan. But then look at the Gakhars. Their power base was incredibly concentrated right in that strategic Patahar region. And that makes a huge difference. It's one thing to rule a specific, defensible territory, and a whole other challenge to manage a vast collection of states.
So we've got different origins and different homelands. Next up, let's look at how they played the complicated game of politics back then. And a huge part of their story, and a major point of contrast, was their relationship with the mighty Mughal Empire.
When it came to the Mughals, wow, did they have different strategies. For the Rajputs, it was a total mixed bag. Some Rajput clans made these powerful alliances with the Mughals through marriage and military service and became pillars of the empire. But many others were their fiercest, most relentless opponents. The Gakhars, on the other hand, they picked a side and stuck with it. They were known for being rock-solid, loyal allies to the Mughals, a partnership that really defined their place in the political landscape for generations. All right, we've laid out all the pieces, origins, territory, and those crucial alliances. So let's pull it all together now and create a really clear side-by-side comparison to definitively answer our big question. What's the real difference? This table really just sums it all up, doesn't it? When you see it like this, a clear pattern emerges. The Rajputs were this broad, diverse, indigenous group, and their political loyalties were all over the map, which makes sense given how widespread they were. But the Gakhars, they were a singular tribe with foreign origins, a concentrated homeland, and a very consistent political strategy as loyal Mughal allies. Just two very, very different ways to handle power, identity, and survival.
So you might be wondering, if they're so different, why do people get them confused? Well, a lot of that actually goes back to the British colonial era, when administrators were trying to make sense of and categorize all the complex societies of the subcontinent. They just kind of lumped the Gakhars in as another branch of the Rajputs. But as history clearly shows, and as the Gakhars themselves have always insisted, they are a unique people with their own separate and very distinct identity.
And at the end of the day, these distinctions aren't just about ancient history, are they? They're about identity, they're about heritage, and about the stories that get passed down from one generation to the next. It just goes to show how the labels we use today have these deep, complicated roots in the past. And it kind of makes you wonder about your own story, right? What does your family tree say?